the sleepy town of Deltona, Florida, a chilling mystery unfolded in the autumn of 2013. A young mother, Yessenia Suarez, and her two innocent children vanished without a trace from their home, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The last known contact with Yessenia was a cryptic phone call around midnight, and when her children failed to show up at school the next day, a sense of dread settled over the community. Suspicion swiftly turned to her husband, Luis Toledo, who feigned ignorance about his family's disappearance. As the evidence against him grew, he began to tell an improbable story. Join us as we delve into the dark world of street gangs and the shocking events that led to the disappearance of a family that fateful October night. Let's discuss this strange case. Life before incident, Yessenia Suarez met Luis Toledo at a street festival in 2009, and they quickly fell in love, marrying months later despite their differences. Yessenia, a dedicated 24-year-old mother of two, balanced work and part-time classes. She worked at American Canine, a company supplying dogs to the military and police. Luis, a former gang member and ex-convict, decided to turn his life around after serving prison time and cooperating with authorities. He pursued barber courses, joined a church, and embraced family life, becoming a father figure to Yessenia's two children, 9-year-old Talia Otto and 8-year-old Michael Elijah Otto. Neighbors often saw Luis playing with Talia and Michael in the yard. Felicita Nieves Perez, Yessenia's mother, spoke with her daughter every morning. She and her husband, Ruben Perez, Yessenia's stepfather, lived just a few blocks away from Yessenia's house on Covent Garden Place. What happened on 23rd of October? On October 23rd, Felicita Nieves Perez called her daughter Yessenia at 8 a.m., but received no answer. Multiple calls and texts to Yessenia and her husband Luis went unanswered, raising Felicita's concern. By 10 a.m., she drove to Yessenia's house and, finding no response, called the police. Felicita mentioned Yessenia's marital issues and feared for her safety. The police learned that Yessenia's marriage had deteriorated due to Luis's neglect and Yessenia's affair with coworker Kevin Dredden. The day before, Luis had confronted Yessenia and Kevin at her workplace, causing a scene and slapping Yessenia in front of colleagues. The night before, Felicita overheard an argument between Yessenia and Luis, who decided to divorce. They discussed logistics at Felicita's house, with emotions running high. Felicita urged Yessenia to stay overnight, but she refused, believing it better to talk things through with Luis. Yessenia and the children left, and it was the last time Felicita saw them alive. The next morning, during a police welfare check, Luis arrived, claiming Yessenia had left with the children overnight. Investigators initially considered this, but her missing Honda Accord, purse, and phone, along with the immaculate house, raised suspicions. The house was suspiciously clean, with fresh laundry and scattered toys, but no signs of a struggle. Officers noted the strong smell of pine sol, bleach, and vinegar, raising the alarm. Two neighboring sisters reported hearing screams and cries for help around midnight, but initially dismissed it as local teens. Given the previous day's incident, police arrested Luis for questioning. Luis claimed he stayed awake until 1 a.m., spoke with a neighbor, then slept in his car. He said Yessenia and the children were home but were gone by 8 a.m. The police continued to interrogate Luis. Yessenia and her children were still missing. As questioning continued, investigators spoke with more neighbors. From here, the story takes a turn. And Tyshawn Jackson, Luis Toledo's neighbor, makes a big statement. Tyshawn Jackson, a college student living across the street, reluctantly came forward. Tyshawn recounted his story to detectives, who interviewed him for hours. He reported that at 6 a.m., Luis Toledo asked him to follow him to Lake Mary to drop off Yessenia's Honda Accord. Expecting a routine errand, Tyshawn followed Luis to a Publix parking lot, where Luis thoroughly cleaned the car with spray cleaner and a rag. Luis then drove them back to Deltona in silence. Tyshawn Jackson felt increasingly uneasy as Luis Toledo disposed of items, including the spray cleaner, rag, and a floor mat, at an apartment building parking lot. After being dropped off near his home, Tyshawn bought cigarettes, smoked several, and repeatedly tried to call his mother for advice. Meanwhile, police pressured Luis to explain Tyshawn's account, but he admitted nothing. Tyshawn then led detectives to the Publix parking lot, where they found Yessenia's Honda Accord with her purse, ID, wallet, work badge, and cell phone inside. There was no sign of Yessenia or the children. Only a fingerprint on a garage door opener was found. In dumpsters near Luis Toledo's residence, police found discarded items including clothing, children's toys, a barber's apron, and a trunk liner from Yessenia's car, along with a boot with a speck of blood. Blood traces were also discovered on a floor mat and in targeted areas of the house, despite extensive cleaning efforts. Newspaper articles about the Latin Kings, Luis's former gang, were found inside. Traces of blood, matching 9-year-old Talia, were found in the bathroom. The sheriff's office confirmed the deaths of Yessenia and her children, launching a search effort. What do you think after watching the video so far? Who is behind all this crime and who killed Yessenia and her 2 children? Let us know in the comments below. What did Luis Toledo confess? During their 3rd interview, under mounting evidence, Luis admitted to a heated argument with Yessenia over video games while Tyshawn was at their house to play. He claimed Yessenia attacked him, and in self-defense, he struck her fatally. He admitted nothing about the children's whereabouts. Luis implicated Tyshawn Jackson, alleging he saw the incident and feared being implicated. According to Luis, Tyshawn disposed of the bodies. Despite intense police interrogation, Luis maintained this story. Tyshawn, not arrested, led police to crucial evidence, but hesitated initially due to fear of Luis. Tyshawn's story aligned with the evidence. Despite extensive searches, including woodland areas and a landfill, no trace of Yessenia and her children was found. Luis Toledo faced 1st and 2nd-degree murder charges, potentially facing the death penalty. Prosecutor Ann Wedge McMillan, who previously worked with Toledo, believed there was a possibility that his former gang may or may not have been involved. The prosecution argued a jealous rage motivated the killings, citing Yessenia's affair with coworker Kevin Dredden. Dredden revealed plans to meet Yessenia the day before her death, noting her unusual behavior and fear during their last call. What Sergeant Kurt Shopes told the jury. Luis's defense suggested Tyshawn Jackson as the culprit, but investigations found no incriminating evidence against him. Tyshawn, testifying, detailed his initial fear of Luis Toledo and his innocence. Sergeant Kurt Shopes revealed Luis's implied knowledge of the body's location during questioning. Luis, in a desperate plea, asked Shopes to take him home to die where his family died, but refused to disclose their location. As tension escalated, Shopes ended the interview. Later, Luis attempted self-harm by smashing a mirror during a bathroom break. He used the broken pieces to inflict cuts on his arm. Luis received medical treatment for non-life-threatening injuries at the hospital. What was the final decision of the court? The prosecution argued Luis Toledo's affair-driven rage led to Yessenia's murder, but he denied killing his children. Prosecutors argued that anger over Luis Toledo's affair led to Yessenia's murder, but she denied killing her children. Luis stated that the narrative of his testifying against the head Latin king put a target on his back, and he was trying to shift the blame, even implicating Tyshawn Jackson. But he found guilty of 2 first-degree murder counts for Talia and Michael Otto, and 2nd-degree for Yessenia. Toledo's attorneys fought against a death sentence. Despite cooperating against the Latin Kings, Toledo felt safer on death row due to his crimes against women and children. Only 2 of the 12 jurors spared him death, but the court showed no mercy. Sentenced to 3 life sentences, Toledo maintained his innocence and said he was unaware of his family's bodies. That was the tragic case of Yessenia and Luis Toledo. Their lives became intertwined in a heartbreaking story that shook communities and sparked intense investigations. And there are still many mysteries to be solved. If you liked the video, then let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.